starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Nobody make me stop the world. So tell me what do we do when these people don't know what you've been through? You survive through the night, through the darkest of times. It's only right that you do what you like. Go ahead, it's your time, baby. It's your time, baby. Get wild, baby. That's the difference when you're my baby. That's how it is when you. Nobody make me stop the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we are, the Power of Venom podcast. We're here with the D-Load and myself, the American Outlaw, SLC. I'm Ryan Soliday. Paul Leonard is over at Static Monsters. We're going ahead and support them this morning. I had to come back to the studio to do this wonderful podcast with a special guest. And we have Blanca Barcelo. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Sure.
Oh, sure. She's fine. But the best thing about this is that she has an incredible story. And that's what we're here on our podcast today for, because she just got her IFBB Pro card, and when she tells you how she got it, the things she's been through, I think it's just inspiring. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce Blanca.
Hi, Sean, thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. So starting out, so let's just take it from the beginning all the way to where we are today. So, growing up, you are a little girl, or if you want to tell a little bit about yourself, by all means, this is your time.
So I was born in Mexico, Nogales, Sonora, to be exact. And I moved to Tucson, Arizona when I was 14 years old. I didn't know the language at all. I didn't know how to speak English, and I started in high school. When I moved here, I started in high school. And after I started in high school, I came over here and I was a runner. And when that happened, when I was in Mexico, I was a runner and I was running long distance running. And I came over here and I was 14 and I continued running. I signed up for cross country and track. And then when I signed up for them, it ended up being a really good thing because I excelled in that, just like I did when I was back in Mexico. I was representing Nogales at the regionals, and I even went to nationals. I went to Guadalajara. And when I came over here and I started in high school, I did the same thing, and I ended up going to the state, and I represented my high school, and I was one of the best runners then. I also played basketball. I wasn't as good in basketball as I had been as a runner, but I did it because the coach recruited me, and he thought that I would be a good asset. So I learned, and I did well. After that, because I was so competitive and I learned the language, I graduated, went to Pima College. I also represented Pima in running. I ran with Abdi, who actually made it to the Olympics, and recently he is, he qualified for the Olympics in his 40s, which was great. So he was always a great runner. And we both went to nationals together and represented Pima College. This was back in 1995. Went to New York, and I did really well. I didn't get top 10 or anything like that, but I did well. And at the time I got married. Didn't have my daughter right away, but I got married, and so I stopped because I had a scholarship in cross country. but I had to stop. And so that kind of stopped. And I did take a few credits here and there, but I would go back and forth. So I had a full-time job. I was taking a few classes, and then eventually I had my daughter. But, I always felt like I missed that competitive part of myself and being an athlete. And so I always wanted to kind of get back into either running. I did a few other races in town in Tucson. I ran a marathon in Mexico, and I actually took first place, and I got a prize. But then after that, I was like, okay, what else do I do? So I continued. I got my bachelor's degree after that, just taking credits here and there. Finally, graduated from the University of Phoenix and got my bachelor's in business administration. So I've always been just kind of very driven and ambitious, and wanted to make sure that I continued even, after being a single mom, had 2 kids and got my bachelor's degree. This was back in 2009. So it did take me a while from the time I graduated high school to the time I actually got my bachelor's, just because I kept going back and forth and taking a few degrees, either, a few classes at Pima. But then I just wanted to continue doing something else, and as a competitive runner or just as an athlete in general. And then I started in 2008. I went back to the gym, but I was just kind of, I went to the gym here and there, and I would just mostly do cardio and the things that I knew. But then in 2008, I started doing CrossFit. And when I did CrossFit, I started developing my upper body a lot, because there was a lot of weight training, which I hadn't done in the past.
That's what I was about to ask you, is that you said you're running,
Yes.
you're a runner, and then it's I'm like, wow, so how did you get the shape? And now you said, so CrossFit. So CrossFit,
Yes.
was that kind of like the pinnacle to where, the dividing point to where, oh, okay, now it's starting to veer off to something else.
Right. Because prior to that, like I said, it was mostly running, and that's all I knew. And because I was a long distance runner, I had the, just very skinny, and I didn't really have very much muscle. And
I'm gonna find a photo here. She's talking. I'm gonna pull it up. Or I think this is it right here. Yeah, it's you wearing the white and the blue shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Well, I added in in the reel that you started with. This is going back to when I was in Mexico, and my sister and I were runners, and we competed, for Nogales and the regionals, and went to state and then nationals. So you can see that. That was back then. I was 11 years old when I started running. And then when I moved to Tucson, like I said, I continued. I went to high school and ran, and then at Pima College. Like I said, unfortunately, Pima, I was only there for a semester, but I did represent Pima, and I was very happy to do that. But once that stopped, it wasn't until 2008 that I started weight training, basically, when I did CrossFit. And then when I started doing CrossFit and I started seeing muscle development, my upper body just started growing to the point where when I went to, back then was Bally's.
Bally's Total Fitness?
Yeah. On Grant.
That shows us.
On Grant. I'm definitely dating myself, but I'm not. I don't mind saying how old I am, because I'm proud of it. I've done so much, and I just love the fact that I have the energy and strength to be able to continue even, at this age. And I've known other women that are even older than me that look amazing. So it's just I can't say enough about weight training. I'd like to promote it to everyone I can, especially women, to make sure that they continue, because I think one of the things that happens is that women think they're going to look like men, or they're not going to look good.
Right,
and
that's
the opposite.
That's 100% not what's going to happen. And I think it's even important, with women, is that they need to get in the weight training, because that's going to help them. If they're, I hate to say this, if they're worried about wrinkles and worried about aging, getting the weight training, that's going to stop that. Even sometimes might even reverse it, because obviously you're putting size on, you're putting mass on. It's a lot better.
Exactly. And I say that weight training is the fountain of youth. I've seen it in myself, just how, even though I'm aging, the aging process is not as bad, because you're developing the strength, the muscle, and it kind of keeps you alive and young. And it's definitely, for me, this is a fountain of youth. So then once one of the trainers saw that I had some muscle, she actually thought I was getting ready for a show. And back then, bodybuilding shows were not even, I mean, not that they're like super popular now, but I've seen more people now, especially here in Tucson, because it was more popular even in Phoenix, where there's more people up there. But when we're talking about 2008, it wasn't even that much, that people didn't really talk about bodybuilding shows. So when she mentioned bodybuilding show, I said, well, and one of the things I did mention, talking about the misconception of women thinking that muscle makes you look like a man, that was one of my comments to the to the trainer. I said, I don't want to look like a man because that was my idea that
Right.
if I became a bodybuilder, I was going to look like a man.
Yeah,
I didn't want to look
yeah.
like a man. So she said, no, you don't have to look like a man. So she actually the next day brought me pictures from a show she had done the previous year. She looked amazing and she looked in great shape. So I said, I want to look like you. I want to look like that. So I started getting ready for a show, and then that was it. I got hooked. I did my first show in 2010, and it was the Copper Classic in Sierra Vista.
Okay. And do you have a picture of that? Because you have a picture here. I think it's the purple studded outfit.
Yes,
Is that the very first one?
that's the very
Let me
first
pull
one.
that up for you real
Yes.
quick. You could talk as I pull it
Yes,
up.
so that was my very first show. I do have some stage pictures, but they're not very clear. So I haven't been able to use those. But that was a picture that I took backstage right before I was going to go on stage. And one of my friends did my tan. So I didn't know anything about tanning or anything. That was my very first show, and I had no idea. Gaida, who was the trainer, she's
Yeah.
the one that kind of told me what to do. She said, you need to get tan, you need to do this and that. So I bought a few products, and then I had my friend do the tanning backstage. So that's the picture you're showing. Like after I
Yes.
was done with my tanning, she took the picture, and so that's what I got. But it was very interesting because they're about, that's the one. She's
Yeah.
like in the back. You can see her in the back taking the picture right after that's it. And we were backstage, and she took both of those, and then I got ready for the show. But yeah, that was my very first competition, and I got hooked right after that. I just thought, oh my gosh, like I want to make sure I continue looking like this because I love the process. It was hard. I still remember, the diet. I was still doing CrossFit at the same time that I was getting ready for the show. And I remember the CrossFit trainer saying I think one of them, he, because I didn't have the strength, and the other one that was a little bit more knowledgeable in bodybuilding, they said, no, you can't, because he was a bodybuilder too.
Right.
She's not going to be able to do the same things that she's been doing, so you kind of have to make sure that that she doesn't go overboard. And so I kind of learned that you can't really go crazy hard, where you're dieting at the same time and trying to get all those the CrossFit, all the lifts and stuff, because it was a group CrossFit class, and I would go there 3 times a week. And so it was fun though. It was fun. That's kind of what got me into the whole weight training part, because I saw the changes and I saw that I didn't look very muscular. So then right after that, so that was the Copper Classic in 2010. The next picture you're showing, which is the bikini picture, that was my very first competition in MPC, because the Copper Classic is not MPC. It's a different, it's a different federation altogether. But then I got into MPC, and that's in 2011. So I did my very first competition in bikini at the MPC show. It was a mile show. That was in Tucson. And I did get 4th place, I believe. And so after that, I went up to Phoenix because he had another one right after that in Phoenix, and I got 5th place. So then I was like, okay. And then I got some feedback from the judges, and they told me that I had too much muscle, and that was the bikini picture. So even then, I already had my abs were very developed, and they said that I had too much muscle. So what I ended up doing is I started getting ready for a competition in figure, which is the next step up from bikini. And the following year, 2012, I competed in figure. So I did my first figure competition in Tucson also, and I took first place. I'm sorry, no, that the first competition was in Phoenix for figure, and I took first place. It's the last one at the end.
This one right here?
At the top, right there, yeah. That was my very first figure competition in, it was a mile show in Phoenix, and I took first place.
That's fantastic.
It was, yeah, and when I took first place, I said, okay, this is my category. This is it. And, you know, as you can see, even back then, I mean, you're talking about 2012, I did figure, and my shoulders, you know, that's one of the things that, you know, they look for in figure, shoulders and the V taper. So
yeah.
And I was very well conditioned. And so right after that, I went to nationals, and when I went to nationals, I took fourth place at the national show. And the first national show was in Pittsburgh, and it was at the North Americans. And one of the coaches that I had, it was Craig and Ann. They both said, you know, don't get used to this type of placing because it's not something that happens all the time. Normally, like when you go to your first national show, you either don't play, like you get third call outs, or
right.
You know, you don't even place top 5 or anything at all. So I got another trophy. So it was one of those things where bikini I got 4th and 5th, and then even at the 2010 the Copper Classic, I did take 4th and 5th, and I did bodybuilding, and I did physique for the Copper Classic.
So you were in the bodybuilding class?
Yes, I did both.
That's interesting.
I did both. Like I said, I even did a routine.
Right.
And going back to it, I was like, it was kind of weird. I thought, oh my God, like I actually started looking into that when I was trying to remember what I had done.
Yeah.
And I didn't do figure. I did bodybuilding and physique. So I did like the poses and stuff. It was weird, but that was my very first show.
And that was,
I had no idea where I fit.
Exactly. So you were kind of looking.
Yeah.
So is that pretty much like you wanted to? I guess you could say is that like you want to kind of just try it all, see what you enjoy doing, and see what you want to do, or did you really not have the knowledge to know like
I
what
had
you
no
were doing?
knowledge.
Okay. Gotcha.
And I basically did what my trainer had said that she did, and she said you have to do a routine. I did like a little I forgot, it was like a very like small routine where like I bring out, like I wish I had a video of it, because like I had like a song. I still remember the song. It was by oh my gosh, I forget the name of the song, but I still remember it in my head. But anyway, I did like a little routine where like I take my shirt and like I like dance and everything, like, you know, and I have my bikini underneath.
Yeah.
The trainer actually helped me with it a little bit, but I was like, this is fun. So like I said, I got hooked on it, and that's when I did bikini, and you know, then I did figure, got my first place, and I went to nationals, took 4th, and then I was like, okay, I want to keep doing this. So then that was 2012. And then 2013, I kind of took a break, and I didn't go back until 2014. And I did 2 shows in New Jersey, and then I did Vegas. So that's 2015.
That's
that
2015?
purple one, yeah.
Okay.
And that's a local show. And actually, that was this very special one because my dad passed away in 2015 in November. But because I was doing all my shows out of town, out of state, because I wanted to try to get my pro card, he had not been able to see me at any of the shows because I wasn't doing any local shows anymore. I was trying to get to my pro card. So in that purple one, I had my dad there at the show, and he was able to see me. So that was a very special one.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool. And you know, I think that's what people don't realize. You know, when we do these things, is that you are sacrificing a lot. You're sacrificing a lot of time. You're sacrificing your relationship. You're sacrificing your family time, because it's not that you just go in there for an hour and I lift some weights or I do some cardio and that's it. This is literally a lifestyle that you have to do, and you have to be committed to it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have yet to enter the role of bodybuilding, and let's be honest, probably never going to. But it's like working with seeing Rafe Tyke and Melissa Tyke over at B-Strong Prowess, and all these people here in Tucson, just all these people that I've got to know just by doing this, the things that we do for all the strength sports. You just watch it, and you watch them just not only compete, but in the gym, and you actually see like what they do for like 2-3 hours. You're going, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, it's one of those things where if you want to test yourself and you want to see if you can do it, it's the ultimate test. It's 100% discipline,
right?
Because you have to be disciplined, not only with your training, but the biggest thing is also nutrition. And you being a runner, I do want to ask you this, because we'll go back on to that real quick, but I want to ask you, the diet, obviously when you were younger, when you were running, and then the diet when you started doing your competitions for your bodybuilding, what did you notice was the big things? What were things you hated and things you liked?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, when I was a runner, oh my gosh, like I actually went through a lot, because when I came to the United States, I didn't have my parents here. They were in Mexico. And I lived with my English teacher in high school. And so when I was in high school and I was a runner, my diet consisted of like a lot of carbs, and we would even have parties. It was called like a spaghetti party or something like that. Like the day before the meet.
We done that for football and wrestling.
Okay.
It's a thing.
So it's a thing.
You carb up before you go.
Well, I didn't know if
Absolutely.
it was a thing somewhere
No,
else.
it is.
I did that for cross country and track, and so we would have like spaghetti and all that stuff, to get to carb load. I guess that wasn't even like, I didn't even know what carb load meant or anything back then, but that's what we would have. And so my diet wasn't even like anything special. It was basically just eating lots of carbs, and then I would bring like lots of snacks afterwards just to make sure like I had enough carbs after. But that was it. There was no like really focus on any.
What'd
diet.
you bring for the snacks? Like what was your kind of like your thing you went to?
I basically like sometimes I wouldn't even have breakfast, to tell you the truth.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And you did cross country?
I did. No, that's why
How
I'm
does
like,
that
no,
work?
I'm telling you. That's why it's horrible. Looking back and knowing what I know now, it was bad. I wouldn't have breakfast. I would eat at the cafeteria. In the cafeteria food, oh my God, don't get me going there. Bad. It's pizza, macaroni and cheese. And
French fries, gravy.
French
just
fries.
cheese on them, ranch
I always
dressing.
thought to myself, because coming from Mexico, I was like, wow, they have this type of food here? Like, this is supposed to be healthy? Like, I thought, okay,
No.
so if they have it at the schools, then that means that
Supposed
it's
to be fun.
healthy. Right? And I ate that. And so that was that. And then I would have, my practices after school. And then I would go home and just have dinner. I would have like maybe 2-3 meals at the most.
Okay.
At the most.
So-
With that snack in between.
Right, of
if
course.
anything. Yeah.
So now being obviously in competitions and where you are right now, what's that looking like for your diet plan now? Like we typically do.
It's very structured. I have 6 meals a day. I have, I'm eating depending on where I'm at, whether I'm off season or I'm in prep. My carbs and my fats are going to vary, but my protein intake is always going to be at least 1 gram of protein per body weight. To 1.5, depending, on what's going on. But my protein intake is pretty high, especially in like during prep. It was like 200 grams of protein.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's divided into 6 meals. So.
So you do 6.
Yeah, I do
Okay.
6. Although I gotta say that when I was in prep, I was doing 5.
Okay.
Because the reason for that is because I train late at night, and by the time I would go, I would have my 4th meal. So I had 2 meals left. So my post-workout, I would have it around like 8 or 9. And I told my coach, I'm like, I don't want to go to bed and have like 1 meal left, before I go to bed and have to eat it, like force myself to eat it, because that's technically what I would be doing. So he brought it down to like 5 meals. So
Okay.
he increased the protein intake in those 5 meals, which worked out perfectly because I got really hungry during the day. That's where I needed all the calories. So that actually helped out a lot.
Now, do you think that was kind of like due to lack of carbs, or how many carbs do you have compared to the 200 grams of protein? Especially now that I know that you basically stuffed your face
it's not going to sound
with carbs
healthy,
before.
and this is not going to be for the normal type of person
Right.
to continue to follow. This is not the norm, but it was about 50 grams of carbs with like maybe 20 grams of fat, if that, and that would only come from like beef.
Okay.
That's just because I didn't have any additional fats at all.
So you didn't do any chicken, no fish, no lean meat, just
Well,
all
I
beef.
did have chicken, but it
Okay.
doesn't have very much.
No.
And then the fish doesn't have any. So, and I didn't do fish, by the way. I don't care about fish.
Gotcha.
So like the people do, because I mean, at one point I did do fish and asparagus, like with other trainers, because I've been doing it for 13 years now. So I've done it all. Like I've done the fish and asparagus, I've done all that stuff, before like my show. But thankfully, like I don't have to do just fish and asparagus now. I can do chicken, I can do beef, I can do shrimp, I can do pretty much any type of protein, and I still get lean. So it's not that. It's about I guess it's a combination of different things. But we've done different stuff, and then my coach and I have been together now for almost 2 years. And with him, I did 3 shows before I got my pro card. So that was pretty fast. And I mean, he's a great coach. He's definitely good.
So with you, and you, I have said, now how many coaches have you had?
Oh gosh.
Oh, and I got this picture on the screen right now.
Okay,
Which
that
one
was Pittsburgh. That was Pittsburgh,
okay.
2018, and that's when I was in California. I had a coach, Michael Sable. He's actually a very well-known bodybuilder from back in the golden era. We're talking about when Arnold and everybody was going on. Like he trained me and got me ready for that prep. I was living in Irvine, California, and traveling to Woodland Hills on the weekends to get ready for that prep. And I've been a single mom this whole time, so my kids were little, and we would make it a trip to LA, or we would go to Venice Beach, or we go to Malibu. We would just go to different places when I was trying to get ready for the show. So it wasn't just about me, I always wanted to make sure the kids also got some fun in between. And they loved it too. I mean, we would go to Woodland Hills. They would play on their phones, while we were there. And
Of course.
Yeah, but they saw me training and working out, where now they're doing the same. So it's crazy.
That was going to be my next question.
They see you when they're little, and the things that they see, they may not do them right away, but now I see they're eating healthy. They're working out. My son really wants to do a bodybuilding show, so I'm super excited about it. And we've trained a couple of times together, and I just love that he sends me pictures and he's flexing, and he's a big kid. He was he gained a lot of weight there for a while during COVID, and he got into some bad times. A lot of kids did during that time. And then after that, he lost a lot of weight, got into football, but then he got into weight training, and then right after that, then he started gaining more weight. But now he's focused back into weight training, and he's doing a lot of the protein and all that stuff. He asked for advice. Although, let me tell you something. Even though I'm the mom, I'm not cool and I'm not big enough. He's like, you're small, you're not big.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
he's like, you're small, you're not big, but it's fun because he does ask me for advice here and there, and then he sends me pictures. So
Yeah.
I know he likes it.
No, but that's really cool, because it's it's like the trickle down effect. It's you're showing them that you're trying to be an inspiration, you're trying to be a role model, and you're also trying to be a mom at the same time. But it's like, look, you do what you're going to do. I'm your mom. I'll back you up on it. Obviously, you probably say a few things here and there, but the fact that now it's like, oh, well, look what mom's doing. Mm-hmm. I kind of want to do that. I can't be upstaged by that, obviously. So it's really cool that they're embracing that.
Yeah.
You said your son. So how old is your son right now?
My son's going to be 18 November 3rd, and my
18,
daughter
okay.
is 24.
Okay.
But my daughter, since she was 11 years old, she traveled with me because she just turned 24, and she was there with me when I got my pro card. But she was traveling with me to all the shows that I did, whether they were local, out of state, or anything. She was with me. So she got so good at knowing what the judges did or what they judge for. So she would tell me, Mom, this girl has this girl has that. Maybe you need to do this. I mean, she became so good. And when I went to Pittsburgh this time, she even said, Mom, you got it. Just like my coach told me, you got it, because what happened was I was split, in the middle. And so I didn't know if I got first or second. So I was like, I don't know. And I was still like, I don't know. I didn't know if I got it or not. And my coach said, yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think you got it. And my daughter said, Mom, she sent me a message, during prejudging after it was done. She said, you got it. You got it. I can't believe you got it.
That's
and I'm
awesome.
like,
So you didn't even know. She knew.
I
she knew
didn't know.
Did.
She knew before I did.
That's cool.
that's how much she knows. And the fact that she was there when I got it, it was like so. It was like it makes me very, very sentimental because she was there since she was 11 years old.
She's been pretty much your second hand since the beginning.
She would like we would be in the hotel. She would help me with bringing down things. She would help me with like get ready for the show. And she was only 11 years old, and then she would go get her tickets. And then she would sit there for prejudging and the judging time, and she would scream and yell my name and Mom.
That's awesome.
And in the video that I have, you can hear her. She's yelling in the background, Mom.
Is that what this video is right here?
Yeah.
All right, we'll play this and it's a minute and 20 some seconds. So let's go ahead and play this.
All right, let's hand out some awards. Fifth place, number 520, Christy Over.
So this was.
So they go off of like fifth place. They have us like they were about 8 or 9 girls.
Fourth place, number 503,
45
Nancy.
and over. So when we all came out, they were basically they put us all together.
Third place, number 501, Angela.
We're calling fifth place, fourth place. So there's third place right there. So it was me and the other girl, right? And this is where I'm like, oh my god, I don't know if I'm gonna get it or not. So then they called second place, and I was like, oh. And then if you look at my face, like I'm like, oh my god, I got it. I smile. I looked at my daughter, and she's yelling. Yeah, she's just like, oh my god, and she's so excited because it was like this is what we had been working on for 13 years, her and I, and she knew how much I wanted it, and she's like, Mom, you didn't even cry. And I'm like, I was in shock. I didn't know I was gonna get it.
Now I got a question actually on this. Like, are you still in contact with some of these girls and some of these women that are on the stage right now?
You know what? It's funny that you mentioned that. Yes, third place Angela. She's one of my friends on Instagram, and I also became friends with Alyssa, another girl, and she was in my other category, the 35 and over. And then I'm also friends with my teammates that are part of my group with Justin. And so, and I make friends, backstage because we're all doing the same thing. And it's like, it's a camaraderie, we're all like in the same events and we know what it's like. A lot of these women have kids, even grandkids, and we're backstage and we're, talking about our journey and, how many shows we've done and all that stuff. And it's nice. I love that. And then I follow them or they'll follow me. And it's just nice to see their trajectory too and what they've done, because I go back and what the pictures they have on Instagram and the things that they've done to get there, and it's inspirational. I think it's just great. It's just great to be friends with these women. They're very they inspire me.
No, and that's like I said, that's one of the reasons. Like I'm glad you decided to come over here and in the studio and talk about your story today, because it is you started out. Late in life. I think you told me, obviously, you started like in your 40s, correct?
No, I started in my mid. Well, I was 33 years
33.
old.
Right.
Yes, I'm 46 now.
46.
So I was 33. So master starts at 35. So I was in the open category for 2 years until I qualified for masters.
That's what it was. Okay.
So masters was 35. And I remember thinking, once I get to masters, I'll have more opportunity, right? Because you think masters is easier. No, that is so not true. These women that are in the masters category are amazing. As you saw there, they look amazing. Like you got the 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, and they look so good.
It's the same thing for powerlifting and strongman too. It's people are like, oh, I'll get in that category and it'll be easier. No, because you got to think about these are athletes that were in the lower classes. Now that all they do is get older, they're still competing.
Exactly.
It's not easier. Yeah. You still got to be at that tier 1 level to do this.
Is that that muscle memory and the thickness and everything, I had been doing it for 13 years. So
right.
Just like me, there are the other women that have been doing it. And maybe they haven't even been competing at that level, but maybe they've trained for 10, 15 years before they got into bodybuilding. See, I didn't start training until I was 30, 31, 32.
Yeah.
And that started with CrossFit. But I did not have the background. Now, what I would have done differently, and I want to say this, is because weight training is so important, I probably would have done a few powerlifting competitions because you need to build that muscle before you strip it down. Like, what are you stripping down? Like, I was a cross country and track runner, so I didn't have muscle. You know, I needed to build it. So when I started, and that's why it took me so long too, I didn't have that foundation. So I needed to get more of that foundation. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to do a powerlifting show or competition in 2024.
Do you know which one you're going to do?
Not yet. I'm thinking of something around March or April.
Okay.
Sometime in the spring, because I'm planning on doing my pro debut in September in Phoenix. Because I want my family to go there, because I want to do something local, and I want to be, I want to invite all my friends and family and everybody I can.
And you're going to put on some size and then cut that down. So you're going to look totally different than you looked in these photos.
Exactly, and
so,
that's
awesome.
the whole idea. But now that I know what I know, if I had known that back then, maybe after I did my bikini competition and even after I won my first figure competition, I probably would have done a few powerlifting competitions to just get more muscle mass.
Now you want to do that, so you've never done a powerlifting competition? No, but you've seen the training though. So
yes. Okay. Well, as a matter of fact, I actually train on Wednesdays. I have my coach Mike Early, and he's a power lifter. Yeah. He's actually he won. He went to Vegas. He's an Olympia winner. So nice. He's good. And he's been wanting me to do powerlifting since I started training with him about 2 years ago too. And he's like, you need to do it. You need to do it. And I told him, hold on. I said, one thing at a time. But again, I mean, the way he trains me is basically a powerlifting training, because we do a lot of squats and a lot of deadlifts. We don't do a lot of, the
bench press.
Well, we don't do a lot of the chest, because but now that I'm going to be doing a powerlifting competition, then we're going to start doing more of that.
Are you looking forward to how it's going to impact your body? You're kind of like on the fence.
No, I'm definitely looking forward to, like I said, all the experience I've gotten and everything I know now in how important muscle is and how you can build it, and how even with training with him in the powerlifting style, for as long as I have, it's changed my legs, because my legs were always lagging. So it's one of the parts I always had to bring up. And because my upper body looked, the part, but then my legs always looked like they were bikini. so they didn't look, proportionate. But I feel like now I've been able to increase that. But with powerlifting, it's and one of the reasons why I've been able to increase muscle there, because when I stripped down this time, I was able to see the difference. I mean, I had more glute striations. I got more quads, and I need a little bit more hamstrings. But we're working on that. We're already increasing, weight. We're, now that my calories are going up.
Oh, yeah, that's
we're going up in weight, and he can't wait to train me hard. Believe me, I'm sore for days after I train with him.
And you should be excited, because now you're going to be doing the powerlifting. And intake of food's going to be a little bit better.
Exactly.
Than what it was. You're going to get more calories.
That's what he says. He's like, eat. But then, I have my coach, where, Justin is increasing them slowly, because when I was in a deficit for 9 months. You can't just start introducing all kinds of food because that's all going to go into fat. It's not going to be growth for your muscles, because you can't just increase it like that and then start increasing weight like that. So it's all a matter of reversing the diet, increasing slowly, and then increasing the weight slowly as you get more calories and as you have more strength. So that way you don't get hurt either.
Now, are you going to try and stay in the same weight class, or are you going to bump up a little bit now?
Well,
or
because I don't know much about powerlifting. He was asking me how much I weighed, and I'm right now at 150 pounds.
And you're probably going to bulk up to maybe about 160 when it comes to
when I'm in my off season, about 160 to 165.
Okay.
Normally. So now that I'm going to be lifting heavier and stuff, I'm going to be 160, 65, maybe 170. So
and you're actually taller than some of these girls too. I've noticed. What, about 5'8"?
No. I'm 5'5" and
what?
3/4. Yes.
Oh, it's supposed to be because you got the heels.
It's the heels.
Okay.
It's the heels. I know a lot of people think I'm taller than I am.
Yeah.
Also because I think it's because my legs are really long too. Because my daughter is also the same, although she's taller than me. She's 5'9".
Okay.
But she's got huge legs, and so that it makes you look taller than you are. But no, I'm only 5'5". Oh, actually, I said 3/4. is actually 5.5, and that's because I've been shrinking. And they say that when you diet down, like you shrink because like you compress or something.
you
I
do.
don't know. And also because you get older.
You get older, and also you're still doing the weight training, so it's like, okay.
I know, you start shrinking.
Hey,
But
it's part of life, people. It is what it is.
5.5. That's what I am.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. You're looking forward to that. So, so you never doing, a powerlifting meet, and they're fun. They're a blast, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you're going to be getting used to the training. You say, we kind of train that. You don't train it. You still train bodybuilding, but now you're getting ready to do low reps, heavier weight, and getting into it.
Well, like I said, because I've experienced some of that. As a matter of fact, I got to tell you a story. Justin is my bodybuilding coach, right? So I post some of my lifts on my Instagram, my stories. And last year when he saw that, I think I was lifting close to 400 pounds, or not lifting, but squatting almost close to 400 pounds. And Mike just wanted me to hold onto the weight. And I actually tried to squat it. I didn't get very, I got scared.
Yeah.
And I had the whole thing. He wraps my knees and all kinds, he's a power lifter.
Yeah.
And I got the belt and everything going. So I did go a little bit down, but I posted it not so much as showing depth. There was no depth or anything like that. It was more like, hey, I was able to hold on to that much weight. This is awesome. I had never even attempted to do that. But I was proud of it. And I know it's more to shock your body, to make sure that you get used to that type of weight, right? So Mike even said, I wasn't expecting you to do that. The fact that you even held onto it, that was awesome. I said, but he's like, you got it because, you were able to go down a little bit. But my coach just decided, he's like, stop that. You're going to get hurt.
Right.
Because I was already starting to cut. I wasn't so much deep into the cutting part. But he's like, no. Go to my training, because he's got me training, like a bodybuilder, 4 sets of 10 and drop the weight.
Stick to the plan, pretty much.
Drop the weight, go down. Yeah, because, we had a plan, and it was to get my pro card. So we got that. Now, I told Mike, I said, okay, now we can train your way.
But I think, that's the thing I think you're gonna fight. I think you're going to have fun with it, because even just talking here about, you're open to it, and you want to see what it does.
Yeah.
And you kind of understand is that, some people the term they use power building, where it's they put the mass on and then they do the bodybuilding, and you kind of see it, because sometimes when it comes to men or women, those who just do bodybuilding, either they blow up or they kind of deflate a lot. They don't look at that stage ready. But when you do the power building and you do powerlifting and then go back into it, it's you just have this look where it's very dense, that's muscle. It's just okay. Yeah, that's not for show. That's for go. They can probably train right now, and go do other competitions they want.
Exactly. And you got a good point, because even now as we're training, and like I said, he focuses on deadlifts and, the big movements, the big lifts, the squats and the deadlifts. When we're doing deadlifts, he's showing me the correct way to do it, because I'm still, because I never really did that. And that's why I said I wish I would have done that type of training back in the day, because I would have been, so much better now. But when he shows me the right way to do it, he's like, I could really feel it in my back. And he says, that's exactly what we wanted. He says, when you do another show, your back is going to be so much more defined. He says, I know you have a huge back, because I do, but it's going to be thicker, and it's just going to look different.
Yeah, no, it does. And you could tell when, you follow this long enough, and, I've been following because of the people that, I'm friends with and everything like that. And still this day, I'm kind of I don't understand how so-and-so won over so-and-so.
Yeah.
But, that's not what we'll get into that. But you can tell, just the best part is when somebody spins around and they do their back, it's ooh, and you can hear the crowd go, oh, because everybody looks the same up front. But then they turn around where everybody's now is back. It's oh, that person just doubled in size because you got that V taper going.
Oh, I know. Well, they say that, the competitions are won from the back, and it's very true. It's very true, especially for bigger, girls. We got to have that back and that depth and that muscularity and the shoulders. And, I've always had that, but again, it's going to be, and I can't wait to have to get more. I know it sounds weird, because a lot of people think I'm huge and I'm big, and I'm like, no. I mean, I'm not small by any means.
No,
and
by no
I
means.
recognize it, but at the same time, when you're looking, if I'm going to do a pro debut, I want to look the part. I don't want to go in there looking all tiny and.
No, I think your mind is right, and you got the right headspace for it, and you definitely want to make sure that, you're bringing everything you can to this. And so you will be competing in straight up bodybuilding, correct? Is that what you're going for, or are you still going to try and do
No.
the physique?
So no bodybuilding.
Okay, so no bodybuilding yet.
No. I mentioned bodybuilding in general because that's what most people refer to. But no,
Yeah.
the category that I compete in is figure, and
Right.
that's what I want to continue competing in.
Okay.
I don't want to gain so much muscle that I go to the next level, that's my hope anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to happen because as a pro, they're already big in even in figure. That's, you still need to get bigger. So
Right.
I don't think me gaining more muscle by doing powerlifting is going to get me to the next level. There's no way.
No, but you even say you don't want to do it. So
No,
you're the mentality you don't want to do it, so you're not going to do
So
it.
we're not. Yeah, we're going to stick to figure. That's the category I like, and that's where I fit the best. My coach and I talked about it. I kind of joked around. I said, "Do you think I can do wellness?" He's like, "No." No, I was just joking around with him because when I see him, I don't go to Phoenix very often, but when we're getting ready to do a show, I'll go up there and just, do a few training sessions with him just so he can see me in person.
Right.
And, it's just kind of cool to like have him, see me and we talk and chit chat and just play around. But yeah, it's fun. I have good coaches. You asked me the question, how many coaches? I've definitely had a
Yes.
lot of coaches, but I think, and I actually have had great coaches. I'm not complaining about any of them. I know some people have had bad experiences, but I've had great experiences with every single one of them. I've learned a lot from every one of them. I just think you kind of have to find like that chemistry with the right person. It's kind of like, it's a relationship, it's like a relationship when you meet that person that's like, okay, it fits.
Right.
Where, you can meet other people and you can date them and you can do all that stuff. But then it when you finally meet that person and it's the same thing with the coach, you kind of have to have that chemistry and they have to get to know your body and what works for you and what doesn't. And I think so far, I think I found it.
Now, and since you talked about like dating for a second real quick, how's it been like in the scene for like when you started doing this? You said at 33, I think you said you started doing it. And like, have you noticed that some guys, or at least in your opinion, like, women bodybuilding, it's like some people are kind of like, I don't
Taking
like
it
that,
back.
or take it back. Yeah, it's like it is. But the fact that you've done that and to where you are right now, how would you say for someone starting out? I always ask the question, what's some advice you give to somebody that's in a relationship that wants to start this, of like the pros and the cons of doing it?
Well, I don't know that I can give a relationship advice because I have been single for the most part since I started training and competing. So it was, it was actually easier for me to be able to focus because I didn't have, I didn't have a lot of distractions during that time. So it was very, very good. I've had a few relationships in the past, recently where I've been able to do both, but the other person did understand, what it took to train. So it wasn't as difficult. I think that the best advice I can give is, you don't necessarily have to find somebody who is a bodybuilder or who is, into the whole fitness scene, but they have to be understanding and they have to know, that the challenges and the things that you're going to be going through, and they have to be supportive. I think more than anything, a supportive partner is what you need. And that's with anything, with any relationship, really. Because if you're doing something and you have a lot of things on your plate, just having someone who supports you and takes care of things that maybe you're not able to during that time that can help you out, that would be great. Now, I don't know what it would be like I said, having someone who is competing at the same time, because I think that probably would be really hard. Both people have to understand each other, but I've never had that experience. But I think the support has to be there for, when you're dating somebody. And if you don't have somebody, because actually my coach Justin and I talked about that, it makes it a lot easier because you don't have that extra distraction. It's just one more thing. Yeah. It's just like having a full-time job, you have kids, you're single mom, you're doing this. And if I would have had a relationship, I don't know that I would have been able to be as efficient or to be as good. It would have been hard.
Right, and that's not saying it, we're not saying at all. The fact that like oh, you gotta be single to excel.
No.
No, it just adds that extra. It adds an extra level
Yeah.
to what you gotta do. But then you see some of these couples that I call them power couples that do it,
Yes.
and it's so just. It's inspiring and
Yes.
just jaw dropping. Like, look at that.
Yeah.
That they are a team. They are a unit, and it is like that's incredible. And that's what everybody wants. And everybody tries to go with that, but it's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard.
Well, I was just gonna say, my coach Justin and his wife Carly, they both at one point were training and competing together. They're both IFBB pros, and But you have to have that. And I think, like I said, it's in a relationship, you have to have the support of your partner, whether they compete or don't compete. And again, if they do know about the industry or they know about competing in general, it makes it easier too, because they know, okay, she has to do this and that. Okay, I'm going to help her out with maybe prep. I know that, I'm not competing, but, I'm going to help her out. Definitely not somebody that's going to try to like jeopardize your prep or say, oh, why do you have to do this? Or, oh my God, I can't believe you have, to do so much cardio, or so you have to do this or that.
Why are you eating at 3 a.m?
Or, well, I've never eaten at 3 in the morning.
But you just there's people that
or
do.
you wake up at 3 in the morning or something to do cardio.
Right.
I mean,
just to go train for an hour.
To go train, exactly. I mean, and they don't get upset because, or they want to go out and you're like, no, I can't. I want to, I got to, or they want to go to a restaurant and you're like, I bring my food, because I've done that.
That's so,
I have
yes.
done that when I've dated in the past. Like if, I started dating or something, I brought my food or, they look, and also another thing too is the look. Not everybody likes this look. And even women, there are women that love the look. I get women at stores, at, the gym, at different places that love it and they want to look like me and they want tips on how to look like me. But then again, there are women that they're like, that's too much muscle. I don't want to get that much. But what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to be scared of lifting weights because you don't want to look a certain way. You're not. I mean, it's taking me 13 years. I barely have enough muscle that I feel like I'm competitive enough.
Right. I mean, I say this too, is like, you bring it up and like, especially now I'm going to college, you kind of talk to people about it and they're like, oh, I don't want to look like a man, or I don't want to and I go, you never will. And that's not saying like, oh, you can't, it's not like a taken back thing. It's just saying you're already at the mental capacity. You don't want to get that look, but if you do weight training, you'll tone up, you'll look better, you'll feel better. Like you need to do it because you'll change yourself in a positive way. But to get to that like tier 1 or S tier level, it's like you won't do that because you already don't want to get there.
Right.
But it's one of those things where it's just not everybody's going to get that. You don't touch a weight and boom, the next day you're like that.
I wish.
Oh, it is. Right? We all do. Like we all wish. And there are some guys, and I hate it. Look, I'm about 6'1" on a good day. But there's my buddies, and they're like 5'8", and everybody's just like, oh, yeah, he's small. I go, no, watch this guy. Like, they'll touch a weight, the glutes will blow up. They'll touch a weight, the biceps get bigger. And I'm sitting over here like, I have been eating right. I've been dieting. Like what am I doing wrong? And like,
genetics.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of things go into play when you're doing this. And I even say, like, it's funny because my son says, Mom, it took you 13 years. There's people that it doesn't take them that long. It's okay.
Right.
They may have the genetics. It's fine. But it's not about how long it takes. It's about completing it. And also, when you set something, when you set yourself to do something, you complete and you do it. Just like I completed my degree, my bachelor's degree.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it took me, I don't know, a long time too. And but I did it. And
that's, I think, that people don't realize. And unfortunately, I will say this, and it's going to come off bad, but it's like the generation now that you deal with some of these people, it's like they almost want instant gratification. And it's like, that's not how this works, especially on this. It's like, first of all, kind of dropping back to what we were talking before, if you want to look this way. But the thing about like working out and the thing about like getting on stage and doing competition, first you got to get in the gym. So your hobby is just that, or your lifestyle is that you want to be fit, you want to do this. And then once you start kind of progressing in that, then you take it up to the next level if you want to. But you first got to start, at least get your foot in the door of a gym. And that's what people don't understand, is that, like you said, it's not overnight. It's not some magic formula or something I eat. Like, if I eat fish or I eat carrots, I'm going to get abs. That's not how that works.
I wish. And I do get those questions asked at the grocery store. Like I said, I get stopped by, women. And
right.
I mean, even older women, which is amazing because they say, hey, I want to look like you. What do you do to get those abs? And I'm like, okay, there's so many things, so many components. We can sit here and I can talk to you for hours.
Right.
But I said the general idea is to make sure that you get your diet under control. Make sure that's the most important thing. Because the first thing they ask is how many hours are you in the gym? It doesn't matter.
No.
Doesn't matter.
You cannot. This is one of the things that I've always, I learned at a young age too, is that the one thing you cannot do, you can kind of get away with it until your metabolism starts going down. So for me, you cannot out-train a diet.
No.
When you're younger, once I got about 30, and I'm like, oh, this stuff is not going away.
That's
So
exactly
let me
right.
clean this back up
Yes.
and do what we got to do. But it just, A, it makes you feel better. B, your body's going to respond to working out twice as fast, if not like 3 times as fast, if you have a clean diet and you're eating what you're supposed to be eating. And we're not saying that you can't go out there and enjoy yourself. Like, God, enjoy life,
you
my
can,
God.
yes.
But it's I can't eat a whole pizza 2 days in a row.
No.
It's just...
It's moderation.
Right.
So, like, for my goals, because I compete, obviously I have different goals than, the general population. But if you're not competing, then you don't have to be as strict. Right. Yet you can still have, nice body. You can still be healthy.
Right.
And that's what's important. So, I mean, as a bodybuilder, as a competitor, I mean, there are extremes, and they're not the healthiest, especially when you're getting, like, ready for a show.
Right.
Because I'm all about health, and it's more important to me to be healthy.
What's the longevity?
In longevity. Yeah, that's
Right.
the most important things for me. So at times I do struggle with the whole, especially, when I was trying to get my pro card, and it was taking me a while, and I was doing all these shows, and I'm like, I know it's not healthy, and I don't like to continue doing that. So I even told my coach, I said, I'm going to stop after I get my pro card. But once I was backstage after I won my pro card, he asked me, he said, are you sure you want to stop?
No.
And I said,
Hell no.
well, let me do one pro debut show, because, it's like getting to the major leagues and
Not
in
stepping on the
baseball,
mound.
and
Not
then
stepping on the mound.
saying, oh, I'm not gonna play. I'm just gonna sit here, even though I've been in the minor leagues for so long. I got to the major leagues. I'm just gonna sit on the bench. No, you want to get out there with with all the players that you've been looking up to, all the people that you've looked up to since the beginning.
And of course then now you're a pro now, and it's like I think people don't understand, it's like whether you win or whether you lose. Now obviously we all want to win,
Right.
But it's like the fact that now you're in a league where everybody is. It just went from here to now it's to here, where it's like, okay, now everybody's even more dialed in.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a test. And, of course, when you're at your level that you're doing and you've been doing this for so long, you want to test yourself. Now, obviously, it does get to the point where you're like, I've done everything I can. It's time to step back from the competition. But you're still going to go to the gym. But that's not going to go away.
Right.
It just can't.
No, even let's say I decided to stop after next year, after my pro debut. Yeah. Let's just say that. I'm always going to have other goals. Like, who knows? Maybe I'll continue doing powerlifting competitions. Maybe
you fall in love with that.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll get back into CrossFit. You know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be something, because...
Or maybe do a stack monsters I taught you today about.
I'm
telling you, try a strongman event. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
No, that sounds like, that sounds like a fun thing. So I might try that. But it's just in me. It's instilled in me, because even... Like, I'm always looking for the next thing, the next thing. And the good thing about me is, and I know that this doesn't happen with everybody, but the good thing about me is that I do enjoy the moment, and I enjoy the journey. So, I'm enjoying, because the 13 years, it wasn't like, oh my God, they were wasted. No, I learned so much, and I grew so much. Like, literally, I grew physically, but also mentally and everything, because it was so challenging, and it made me stronger. The more I kept going at it and not giving up, it helped me build character. So that to me is so important. So that's why I said, thank you for the fact that it took me so long, because it's a learning experience. It's a lesson. It's something that I needed to go through. And so now it's like, okay, what's next? But at the same time, like I said, I enjoy that journey. I'm enjoying this time. But now I'm like looking forward to the next thing, because that's who I am. I'm always looking to improve myself and to do better.
Right. And that's just the way you're built. And that's the way it's going to be, because especially going to the gym and doing your trials and tribulations to get where you are, the biggest thing that people don't understand, the gym is not there just to build muscle and get stronger and change your physique. It makes you into a more mentally stable person. Exactly. And it allows you to persevere through a lot of things. That's the biggest thing I tell people. And it's one of those things I try to explain to people, because, I suffer from some mental issues and whatnot, but the gym has always been there. And my God, has the gym solved a lot of that. You're going through something, you can't let stuff out, or you just feel like you're trapped. Get in the gym. I guarantee you it's going to make you mentally not only better and also physically better, but it's that mental aspect that just gets overlooked all the time. Mm-hmm. Not to get political, but it's like when the whole COVID thing happened. The first thing we were shutting down gyms, like, do you understand that probably about 80%, maybe even 85% of people that go to gyms, this is their therapy. This is their mental break. Like, this is what they use to get through every single day. Mm-hmm. And now you're taking that away because you're afraid of something, but yet a fast food restaurant will stay open. You know, it's like doesn't make any
It
sense.
didn't
to
make
me.
sense.
It didn't make sense.
No.
Now, like I said, we're not going on a hole.
Yeah.
But it's a simple fact that, like, with the mental aspect, and believe it or not, a lot of your people that are in this tight knit family is that they're pretty humble. And yes, I know there is those people that also like to talk about themselves, but a lot of people are very humble, and all they want to do is just get in there and do their thing, and give advice if it's asked.
Help others.
Yeah, help others. That's the biggest thing
It's
about
true.
it. It really
It's
is.
true.
You know.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel the same way, and I think that, like you said, it does help you with those mental battles. And the other thing too that I was going to mention is those things that you go through in the gym, they translate to your regular work environment, whether you're with your like family, at work, anywhere. It translates outside, because when you're able to, like, let's say get a PR or lift something heavy, and you're going through the struggles at the gym, it translates to your life too. When you're going through something difficult, it's the same type of struggle. And I always relate. I'm like, okay, I can get through this. I can get through this.
Right. And what do you, and you know, for a living, also, you don't just work out in the gym all the time. Like, you, what do you do for a day job, or what do you do typically?
I work for Wells Fargo. I'm a senior business consultant.
That's
and,
a lot of time. That's a lot of energy.
Yeah,
to
it's
get
a
that as
full-time job. Like, the gym is actually my hobby. It's not my full-time job. And most people think that I work as a personal trainer or anything, but that's not even the case. Like, my job has nothing to do with weight training at all. And so my full-time job, you know, I've been with Wells Fargo for 18 years, has been, you know, sitting at a desk and looking at a computer all day.
Right.
And then the times when I actually get up and do something is when I go to the gym. So,
but you're all pent up. You're like, I can't wait to get out of the seat.
No, believe me,
Yes.
you know, and I've learned the hard way where, you know, because I've had some back issues and everything just from sitting so much, that I take breaks and I walk around and I do other things, because it's important to, you know, to release that. You need to walk, and you need to and actually cardio in the morning, that fasted cardio is the best.
I'm telling you, listen,
I wake up with it.
I just started doing it.
I love it.
I just started doing it, and I'm on board.
I know my coach recently just brought it down to 35 minutes, like 3 times a day, and or a week, and I was like, oh my God. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to space it out and do like 15 minutes like every day, because to me it's so important to be able to like get up and move right away.
Well, you know, for me, not to take anything off of what you were talking about, but kind of your cardio thing, you saw my puppy. So, you know, I love her to death. So every morning we go do our 20 minutes, and then in my bedroom I have an assault bike, which I just got. So it's a 20 minutes in the morning, get up, you know, and then go to school, then come back or whatever we're doing. But then at night, just do your 30 minutes in an assault bike, which absolutely sucks. I don't care what anybody says.
You do
it's
what
miserable.
again?
I do the assault bike. So it's
the assault bike. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does. I've done it.
It's miserable, but you know what? I want to see myself in 6 months to see what transition, because just even sleeping wise, and when I'm like, oh, I do feel better. I'm not a biker. I'm not a a cardio guy at all. But you just add a little bit to your reputation, and it goes a long way.
It does. So even though I'm not prepping for a show, and I know cardio is going down for a reason, because you don't want to be doing, you know, I was doing like an hour and a half of cardio, and like it was split, you know.
So long.
Yeah, but
so long.
I actually like it because I listen to podcasts.
Right.
I listen to a lot of the things that I like, you know, and I learn, you know, so I'm not always like, I'm always doing something.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't slow down. Like, I'm always working on something. I'm, you know, whether I'm doing I'm listening to podcasts and doing like self-help books or something, you know, in between. It's not like I'm just sitting, or I'm just doing the cardio and not doing anything else, you know, or I'm just looking at the internet and stuff. There are very few times when I distress by watching TV, but there are very few and in between. I don't even like watch that much.
Sundays are the only time I actually sit down and kind of relax. I schedule that for pretty much how I do things. Sunday is my me day, and even though it's like if I'm sitting there, I'm probably gonna try and sleep, because I'm like, I just don't sleep during the week.
Yeah, well, see, that's not good.
I know, but there's other things that go with that. But it's, you know, and obviously with recovery, you know, we're getting that, which is fine.
No, I learned that for recovery. Because as you do more competitions, and even no competitions, like as I've learned how my body works, and it changes too with time, with age and everything. But you learn certain foods that you maybe get bloated and you don't react well to. You also learn that recovery is so important. Stretching, moving. Not always like the bodybuilding and like strength, but you also need like it's just like anything in life. You need that balance of like decompressing and stretching and getting massages and the ice baths. And that was like a thing new to me this year. I started doing more ice baths with my coach. He asked me to do more of those.
That's a hot topic
recover.
right now. So do you see, like, what's your opinion on that?
It's perfect.
Okay.
I recommend it 100%. To me, it made a huge difference in my recovery. Now, they say that, right after, like, for instance, a leg day, you don't want to do it because it kind of stops the growth,
right?
Which I have read and, like, listened to a lot of things. And so it does, but you can do it before or you can do it, like, a day after. So you don't have to do it right after. But I noticed, like, when I was doing my prep, because we needed to get inflammation down, it helped with the inflammation. So I retain a lot of water. And so that was one of the things that we learned. My body just holds on to water.
Do you always have that problem, or is that something you developed later
That's
on?
actually something that I've learned recently, but I think I've always had it. I just never really knew about it just because, and the reason I found that is because my legs, remember I mentioned to you that they've been lagging, but even when I was getting ready to do a show, like right before the show, it would take so long for them to actually look cut. And so we learned that I hold onto a lot of water regardless, and my estrogen levels are high. So everybody's different. See, I do a lot of blood work, and I do it every 6 months. And I just do it to make sure that everything's running great.
Well, you have to, because especially, and I'm not going to say like when you do bodybuilding, you do extreme diets, but you do kind of starve yourself to a point that's not, you can't maintain that diet only for a certain period of time. You can't do it all year round. So when you do that, you do got to make sure that you're getting your levels tested, because it's like, if you see something that's growing or see something that's out of place, you might need to change it, and you got to tell your coach that. So they say, okay, this is hurting you. We don't want to hurt you. We want to try and manipulate it so it is going to be beneficial to you.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I've done. I sent him, my blood work. He read it. He saw some of the things that I saw, and then like I said, as I've learned, how my body reacts and what it does with certain things, then I've changed either my diet or I've changed the foods I eat, or I know that if I sleep 6 hours, I don't look as good. I have to get like 7 hours. 7 hours is my like the perfect time. And even when I sleep 7 hours, but I don't have enough REM, that also affects the way I look. And because, when you get down to like the show day, you have to find out like what your weight is. I would notice that my weight varied depending on how well I slept the night before. So I would hold on more water.
Yeah.
So the next day, let's say I was like a couple of pounds more. Well, it wasn't because I gained 2 pounds of fat or anything like that. It was because I didn't sleep well. So my sleep schedule, did not help with that. So that's why a lot of women too that, are very like focused on the actual like weight. You can.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
It's more so with women than it is men. That's 100%. We can care less. We'll eat pigs and we'll go through, but it's a huge. Everyone's like, they look at the scales, like, get away from the scale.
No. I just get away from it, because the scale will, like, if it's the time of your month, if you had maybe food that had too much salt, if you didn't sleep well, I mean, all of that can like make you gain, 5 to 10 pounds
easily.
Overnight.
Easily.
And then you're just like, oh my God, I gained this much weight. No, you didn't. No,
and that's one of the things that even goes down. I think it's more or less a thing, like even starts like, I'll say in like the pubescent stage, of like, the teenage years, like in high school, with that, it's like, I got lower weight, it's going to make me look better. It's like, no, I wish I would have known the stuff I know now when I was in high school, because it just would have been like, screw that, because there's a difference between being 125 pounds of mush and being 180 pounds of solid muscle. You're gonna look like, oh my God, that guy's gigantic. Well, he actually weighs this much. It's totally different.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I was 125 pounds in one of the pictures where I have my Amphi runner outfit. I was 125.
This one?
Let's see. It was the one where I had my tank top, and I'm not sure if you
tank top. Do I have that one? I might not have it, unfortunately.
You might not have it. I think it might be one of. You don't have it.
Okay.
I think it's one of the pictures in my reel. I think where you start off the reel, like one of them,
Okay.
it's in there. Oh yeah, you have it. It's right up there.
Where's that?
That one.
Oh, there it is. Okay,
So
I
I
see
was
it now.
125 pounds there, and right
This one
now,
right here?
and see, like, well, yeah, I just did that photo shoot recently. I'm 150 pounds in this picture.
Or is that the one you're talking about, or is the one
No,
next to it?
the one that you passed was 125 as a runner, but then when the one that you had before, and I was like 125 there.
This one?
125.
So this one right
Yeah,
here is you.
That was 125.
This is 125.
And then
Okay.
just so you can compare it, and I had another one, but I didn't send you that one.
Yeah.
It was another one where I first started like my competitions. I was like 125. If you look at that one where I have in the desert, in the
Okay.
shorts on the top,
This one?
right there. Yeah.
Okay.
That was like about 130 pounds there. So
So you're talking 5 pounds difference and looks totally different.
yeah, totally different.
Yeah,
Totally
that's
different.
That's fantastic.
I mean, you can't see the difference there as much because I'm sitting down. But if you would have seen me when I was a runner, I was like skinny fat. I had more, I had that more of
That's
that
a
look,
term.
like the skinny fat look.
Yeah.
Because you're soft. You don't have
Right.
you don't have any muscle.
Right.
And you can, because as a long distance runner, you actually can have that much muscle, because even if I tried to like run now, I'd be too heavy for it. I would be carrying a lot of muscle. But even now, like most people think, because I look pretty lean, I did my show 2 months ago, but I'm doing a reverse diet, and I'm still prepping my meals and doing all this stuff. And you even asked me if I was doing another show. I'm not. It's just my lifestyle. That's the lifestyle.
But that's what it is. You're addicted to it.
Yeah,
it's fun.
It is. I mean, but I have goals. So I have a goal of competing next year. So I don't want to just eat whatever. Plus, I eat 6 meals a day, and I get hungry. Like, it's not,
Right.
and it would be very expensive for me to be grabbing something on the way.
No, and I saw one of your meals you have. It's not that big at all.
It's not that big.
No, it's not.
And so I weigh about 150 right now. And so 150, you see me, and most people think I'm at 130, because they don't think like I weigh that much, but my muscle weighs quite a bit.
Yeah, muscle absolutely outweighs fat, and it's just one of those things where people just got to get away from all the stereotypes. And unfortunately, there's so much nonsense that I knew when I was younger that was crap. And even now with these influencers and everything like that, is that there's a lot of stuff out there that's not at all accurate. It's just get out there, do your thing, and you're going to be around people that do it. And the best way to do it is go to gyms and find gyms that have people that compete on that level. Not saying we're going to do it, but just get the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I love just surrounding myself, and so does Paul. We love just the knowledge of how people get to where they are, because you might learn something like, I'm going to try that. I'll give a shout out to Melissa Tyke. She is pound for pound, in my opinion, one of the hardest workers in Tucson and what she does. And there's times when I was doing competitions, I'm like, that's a weird one. Let me try that. And she'll have like 225, and she's like going nuts. Like, let me try it. And I do. I'm like, oh, that's not easy at all. Like that is ridiculous. So
It's even in the way you like grab the weight sometimes. The form, like that's what I'm focusing more on, because I've been training for so long. But I've learned that I did a lot of like shoulder workout wrong, and that's why my traps grew. Like, they're it wasn't
got
on
traps for
purpose.
days, right?
It wasn't on purpose.
No, but that's
I
what's
did
good
it
though
wrong
sometimes.
for so long. Like my shoulder workouts were done wrong, so I did more of like my traps.
Yeah.
And it was my mistake. So my traps grew tremendously, and a lot of guys like come up to me and they're like, "How do I get those traps?" I'm like, "Just do shoulder workouts wrong."
Just shoulders 25 hours a day.
Do
Yeah.
shrugs. Like, use your traps instead of your shoulders when you do the dumbbell.
What's funny about that, I love it, is the fact that you just said I was doing it wrong, and you're like, I guess, but there's people that are like, I want exactly that, and you're like,
yeah.
Well,
no, believe me, there are a lot of people like.
Yeah.
But see, the thing is, I have guys come up to me and they're like, "You have an amazing back," and I'm just like, "Thank you." But then it makes me feel bad too, because I'm like, I don't know that I want a guy telling me that he wants my back, because then it's like manly, you know what I mean? But again, like it's funny because I go through those things where, I love my body, I do, and like I said, I'm humble and everything, but at the same time, I've worked really hard to be where I'm at.
Well, damn right.
But I am happy with the way I look, and it's not a look that everybody likes, right? And it does look different when you're wearing like your dresses or you're wearing something.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look like the normal,
Right. Well, it's what they call a head's a head turner. It's like, okay, you look different, and by all means, you should look different, and that's what it's. But that's the other. It's I guess I'll say it's a con, but to us, it's like, oh, just you figure out something that works.
Yeah.
But trying to go to like JCPenney's or Sears or some of that and buy just like you can't do that.
Well, I do, and I know it's harder sometimes for men because like you got the big quads and everything, and the pants may not fit.
Like my shorts right now are ridiculous.
They may fit your legs, but they don't fit your waist. Like it's huge. Like the pants are big, and then the waist is big, so because they don't make them for bodybuilders.
Well, you'll see some of us that will wear like a 4X shirt or 3X shirt. It's like, well, that looks loose as hell. Like, but it's my arms. I can't get my arms in the damn
exactly. Well,
yeah.
and for me, it's like a balance between, because I'm very, like, I want to keep my femininity. I don't want to, I don't want to get to that point where I'm like, okay, this is not. And I've talked to my coach and everything. So it's about the balance. And I want to still be feminine, and I'm very feminine, and, and I want to keep that. So it's just having that balance, because like I said, the look is not for everyone, and I know a lot of people, or some people will be like, oh, that's too much, or that's too manly, even with me, which I don't think that, but like I said, some people would, and it's just about being comfortable with how you feel and where you're at. Right. That's it. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter what somebody else thinks. I mean, as long as you like how you look, and that's the look you want to have, that doesn't matter.
You'll find the person that accepts that. Like,
exactly.
Look, you're going to weed out people real quick. It's like, I like the way I am.
Oh, yeah.
So if you don't like it, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, and even if, like, let's say you're not into bodybuilding or powerlifting, it's always going to be that way, right? Because you're not, good thing, not everybody likes everybody, they all have different tastes.
But I always said this, and this is me personally, and a lot of good friends of mine, it's funny, they're always in the gym, and they're like, why do you always do it? I said, well, honestly, it's because someone that goes to the gym, first of all, the discipline. They kind of got their stuff together. They're in an environment to where they know they get to. So it's like, oh, that's more of a mature person. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some people that that are immature. But it's like what you were just saying. It's the fact that like you're going to surround yourself with people that you're familiar with and people you're comfortable around.
Like-minded.
That's the word I want to say.
Yeah.
Like-minded people.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, it's just because you go to the gym doesn't mean, that you're responsible or anything. I mean, there are people that are responsible, but just the fact that they're going to the gym, that they have the discipline, they have the drive, at least they're doing that versus, watching TV all day or anything. Like one of the things that I mentioned to people too is that, getting, like, being a single mom and having, my kids, I always felt guilty, and my mom would sometimes make me feel that way, that, hey, you're going to the gym, you just got out of work. Why don't, the kids, you need to spend time with them. But as I look back at it, that was the best thing I could have done, because there are parents that are, present physically, and they're spending the time with their kids, but they're watching TV. So that to me doesn't mean that it's quality time. So I gave my kids the quality time, because the time that I had with them, I enjoyed it. We did things, we went places, we enjoyed the time. Like I even mentioned, even when I was in California, when we went to Woodland Hill, because I was training, it wasn't just me training and then, okay, we're going to go back home and that's it. I made it a point to take them to Maui, to take them to Venice Beach, to take them places and have that time with them. We went hiking, we did things, because that was our time together. And the fact that we were there by ourselves, because I didn't have any relatives or family, it really kept us united, and they saw the entire thing. So it wasn't just about me. So what I'm trying to say is that a lot of people think, oh, you spend 2 hours in the gym, or 3 hours in the gym, okay, and they don't, they're like, oh my God, that's crazy. But then they're watching TV for 4 or 5 hours.
Exactly right.
And you can even say, like, even like football season right now, right? On a Sunday, people watch all the games, right? So they're watching the games all day.
Like
and the next day when they go to work, because I hear these conversations, even though I work from home, like we'll have like, conversations over the phone and stuff, and people are talking about how they watched all these games. And I'm just thinking to myself, nobody says anything. Nobody bats an eye. It's like, it's normal. Right. It's normal to spend all that time. And they don't say, oh, well, how that's selfish. You're not taking care of your kids. You're not doing this.
But going to the gym
that.
for 2 hours.
But going to the gym for 2 hours is like, how dare you?
Right.
Like, really? You're not spending time with your kids? Like, that's a lot of time.
Yeah. And like you said, and I love the fact that your daughter has been there every step of the way, and your son's going to do it. And that's the thing. If you're being positive, with yourself and is being positive in general, that's going to articulate out of your family. And it's awesome that you have a very tight family and doing this. Being a single mom, that's hard in itself right there. And I should say being a single parent in general. But,
Yes.
and then the balance to where you can basically do your work, go to the gym, but then you have that family entity where that's still your priority. I know for a fact your family's still priority. It's always going to be.
Of course.
Yeah.
That my family is my priority. That's definitely.
But some people think like, oh, well, it's not your priority. It's like, no, it is. I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I want to inspire my family.
And it makes me a better person. And not only that, because I was a single mom, I didn't take as much time from being sick or, having issues or being,
Exactly.
having high cholesterol levels. Like in my family, that runs in my family, cholesterol, like diabetes, cancer, all of these things. There are things that genetically you can't control because, if you're prone to getting it, you're going to get it. But if you have a good diet and you're exercising and you can, prevent some of these things from happening, then that's great. That's the best you can do. Now, if you're not eating healthy and you're prone to certain diseases, you're going to get them, and that's on you for not taking care of yourself.
Right.
So because I've seen, some of my relatives, being unhealthy and not taking care of themselves and what it's done to them, that's another reason why, I just don't want to get there. I don't want to have to go through all those things too.
I want to ask a question now kind of about your family. So you kind of said like your mother was kind of like, well, you're not watching the kids. Now I want to get into your history. So you came over here, you're living with your English teacher, you were saying, I think, correct?
Yes.
So how did that translate to you getting into, or even doing the sports you did? Like, was there a barrier you had to overcome, or how did that work?
It was interesting because, yes, when I first moved with my English teacher, she was a single mom of 2 kids, 2 daughters. Okay. And actually, I'm friends with both of them on Instagram, Ariana and Fiume. And they see what I've done, and so it's really cool because when they were little when I lived with them. I was 14 years old, and I believe they were around 4 or 5 years old. And they would go to my competitions, my running competitions, and they would have like the banners and they would say, "Go Blanca, go!" And the teacher was there. I mean, she was very, very supportive. I've had a lot of people that have helped me throughout the years. Like I said, that I've definitely had people that looked out for me and were nice. And Leah Subnacker, she was a teacher that I lived with, and there was a barrier as far as language barrier. I was learning the language. She was an English teacher, so it's perfect. She would actually correct me if she didn't let me use a lot of slang. If I learned, I remember one person say "what up," and I said, "What's what up? Is it the same as what's up?" She said, "No, that's not a word."
Right.
I was trying to learn, and she's like, "No, that's not a word."
So I guess if you want to talk about why were you living with her and not living with your family? How come they didn't come over, or what's going on with that?
They were here. I first lived with an aunt and uncle, and then another aunt and uncle. But they were it was weird because I actually had more issues with relatives at the time than I did with living with the teacher. My mom actually wanted me to go back to Mexico because she was living over there. At the time, she had cancer. So in Mexico, if you're going to high school, it's not free. So that's the reason why I ended up coming here, so I could complete high school. My goal was to complete high school, learn English, go back with the second language, and then, be able to work and do things and everything. But I've always been very ambitious and very driven. I mean, I don't know if you can tell now. I'm always doing something and always looking for something. Right. So when I saw the opportunities that were here, I'm like, I'm not going back. I'm not going back.
I guess what kept you? Because if that was your plan to get your language and then go back there, but what kept you here?
Well, that I did so well in cross country, and I got a scholarship to go to Pima College. Coach Milky, I don't know if he's still alive, but he's the one that gave me the scholarship to go to Pima, and I ran cross country and track there. He actually was very disappointed when I got married because I got married shortly after. And that's why I only did one semester at Pima. And I was supposed to do, 2 years at Pima and have a scholarship. So he was very disappointed, especially because I represented Pima the first year in
Right.
cross country, and so he was like, "Oh,
You said you were
this is
great at it.
great!
Yeah,
Oh
you're
yeah,
great at it.
no. My hopes, and like I said, was to continue and maybe make it to the Olympia or the Olympics. It was like that's how competitive I was, but I don't know. And I did get some offers from NAU and from U of A, but I got married and I couldn't continue running and everything.
Right.
So I kind of stopped. So like I said, it was like one of those things where like I stopped and I didn't have my daughter right away. It was a few years later. But in the back of my head, it's like one of those things like when you're not able to fulfill your goals and you're meant to do something,
Yeah.
it's always going to be there.
It's kind of like an itch you're trying to scratch. Like you're like, this is
Yes.
something that's there, and I need to do
Yes.
something with it.
So whether it was that or something else, and that's why I got into bodybuilding. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, it's just in me. It's inside of me. Like, no matter what I do, like, I got that little thing in the back of my head. Like, you're meant to do something. Like, you need to do something with this. Like,
Right.
you need to do something. So no matter what, whether I stop or not, like, I stop. And then it's like only temporary because like part of me feels like a void, like I need to fulfill and I don't know how. So I'm always looking for the next thing.
Right. No, that's how it should be. Because again, you're never satisfied, and even when you're not like doing a competition, it's still like, no, I'm still trying to look for the next thing.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
is what
And
it
that's
has to
why
be.
the next thing now is it's
Powerlifting.
going to be powerlifting. But again, it's like one of those things where you just think, okay, but you could, I don't know, go into this or go into that. Another thing that I also want to go do maybe in the near future, it's become a lawyer. After I got my degree in business administration from the University of Phoenix, I did it online. I've always been interested in becoming a lawyer, always. So it's one of those things where I thought, okay, once I become a pro, I'll look into getting into law school. So there's always something.
Well,
And I think, when living is finding your purpose in doing the things that you enjoy. That's living. And the moment that you stop doing that and you become complacent and you say, oh, yeah, there's nothing else, that's when you die. It's not really when you die. It's like when you die when you stop breathing. You die when you don't do something.
You just hit the nail on the head, and like, not to take anything away from your story or whatnot, but you have to have a purpose. For me, and people that know what happened to me, they know I had some health issues, last year, and trying to get back in that, and then literally everything stopped. The things I was doing and loving, I couldn't do anymore, and it was absolutely brutal.
Mm-hmm.
But then you find a way to overcome that and get back to the purpose you want, and now you got the drive to go do stuff again. But it is, you see these people, and it just blows me away, especially when it's younger people.
Right.
It's like, what are you doing right now?
What are you doing?
And they're just like, oh, I'm just doing this and just kind of flying
I don't
around. It's
know.
like, dude, you have the greatest time to do something. It's right now. Like, if you dream something, you want to go achieve something, just go do it.
Just do it.
And I wish I would have known that. It's hard to say someone to do that. But I'm telling you right now, if anybody takes away anything from this thing, at least for my advice, is just that you want to go do something, go do it. The only one's going to stop you is you. It's that simple.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's hard, because looking back, like when I was in my 20s, they always ask you, like, what do you want to do when you get older? Or what do you want to, it's not about what you want to do. I think it's about trying different things, instead of like being focused on something specific and saying, I want to do this, because you don't know. You don't know until you try something.
Correct.
Right? Like, I didn't know I was going to like bodybuilding. I didn't know I don't even know if I'm going to like powerlifting.
No, and you were the exact opposite of what the sport was. You were a runner.
Exactly.
It's not even, it's apples and oranges.
And when I started running, I mentioned I started running back when I was in Mexico. I was like 10, 11 years old.
Yeah.
And again, my parents didn't get me into that or anything. It's not the same as here where, you have your sports and all that stuff when you're in school or even before, like, you have your clubs. And no, over there, the reason why I got into it is because I started competing with my sister as to who could run fastest going up a hill. They have a lot of hills up in Nogales. So it was like this hill, and I'm like, let's see who can run the fastest. And I was racing with her, and it happens to be like one of the coaches that was coaching like a little, like, it wasn't even like a league. It was like, it was barely starting. It was like something that they were going to do competitively in Mexico, Nogales. And it was like a running league. And they saw us running, and they said, hey, those girls can run. So he came up to us, and they said, hey, my name is so-and-so. Like, would you like to run and compete, in running and to represent Nogales? And we said, I don't know what that is. So we took his card and we talked to my mom, and my mom was like, "Be careful, because you don't know like who this person is." But I said, "Well,
Right.
he like works out of like some place, like, you know, it was called like La Unidad." And that's where you had like in a specific place in Mexico where kids went there, and they had like a playground and like a track, like kind of like a track. It was like dirt and stuff. And so we went there and we met with the guy, and my mom said that he was legit. We started training, and the training consisted of us running up and down the hill where he
That
saw
you were
us.
doing already, yeah.
Yeah, and then from there we started doing competitions, because they had competitions there, and we would place well, and so we won. And then we went from there. We traveled to Hermosillo, and then from Hermosillo we got that was like the state. And then from there, we went to Guadalajara, which was the nationals. Yeah. And my sister actually won there, and she even went to, because she got a gold medal in throwing.
No kidding.
Yeah, she did.
So did she pursue like the track and field and discus and all that stuff?
We both
I'm assuming
did.
was it discus or was it stone?
Yeah, and in Mexico, we both did.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and then when we came here, because she came after me, and then we went to high school, and we both, you know, competed. We've always had that competitive, you know,
it's a competitive
edge in us.
Yeah.
Always.
Good.
And I have it at work, and with my relationships too, like, and to the point where it's actually like a bad thing, because like, you know, when we went hiking, you know, one time I was competing like on the way down, and it was like bad, like we
trying to like
win,
just,
like
yeah.
It was bad.
I've rolled my ankles too many times when it comes to hiking. I'm like, go ahead.
Oh,
you go ahead.
I didn't roll my ankle, but it could have happened. It was really steep, and on the way back down, we could have had that bad situation.
That's what I wanted to ask you earlier. I just thought about it again. Have you had any injuries or anything that was kind of like, you know, hard to come back from, or anything that was like, oh boy, this is really serious, or have you just been lucky and not like really, you know, injured yourself to the point you couldn't come back quick?
I've been lucky, and I've also I think that the only injury that I can say, it's like I tried to do like squatting on my own, and I wasn't doing the right form. Okay. And I also tried to do deadlifts on my own without the good form. And those ones I don't recommend anybody doing if they don't have good form. I mean, they're the best to do, but you have to definitely know what you're doing and have the right form, because you can injure yourself. And because, like I said, back then I didn't have it. I've always had coaches, but they've never trained me the entire time. I've had online coaches where they give me the training program and the diet program, but I end up training on my own for the most part. Gotcha. And so when I trained by myself, I did go a little bit heavier, and I did have like some back pain. And then from there, I've had some back issues, but the best thing about it is that I never stopped training, because there were times when my sciatic pain was so bad that I couldn't even like tie my shoe. It was so bad. Like I had a few instances where I was like, I wasn't completely out because I was still going to the gym, but I couldn't really move as much, and like sitting down was bad. Like my hip would lock, and so getting up was really painful.
Now you said sciatic. Do you have sciatica, or do you always have that, or that come upon?
That became upon the whole bad, you know, weight training, like the squatting specifically. But I stopped doing that. The bad training. I looked up YouTube videos and tried to like learn the form. Even then, I've always been careful with squatting, just because, like I said, I want to make sure that I have the right form. So when I do it, I always make sure that I'm doing it the right way, and and then I get, you know, a coach like the one I have right now who knows what they're doing, so they're spotting me, and they're helping.
I try to tell everybody this, you know, because I always ask me, you know, what do you got to do in the gym? I said, look, I know it costs a bit of money, because it does, but it's worth it. If you can get with a good coach, at least for like a month or so, get with them.
Exactly.
Get the in-person sessions.
Yes.
Learn how to do the moves. And then when you feel comfortable, then do on your own.
Yeah.
Because you see it all the time as people go in there, especially the deadlift, and you just see the cat back. And it's arch. I'm going, Jesus. I'm waiting for that to blow out. Even with the squats, too.
It's the same. When we train together, my coach and I, we see so much bad form, and then we're looking around, and I honestly feel bad. We feel bad. And he's, you know, he's the type that has gone to them and say, hey, you know, let me show you, because he's been a coach for so long. And he doesn't want someone to get hurt. But either they don't listen to him, or they'll just stop, and or they'll do it the same way again. I mean, and he just kind of gives up. He's like, okay.
Well, all you can do is basically, hey.
All you can do is try to help, and that's all you can do. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if you can get a coach and help you understand the movements. And I'm not talking about just squatting and deadlifts, but that's where you can get hurt the most. But I'm talking about, even like, shoulders, so you don't get huge,
Get your huge
traps
traps
like me.
that everybody wants.
That's what everybody wants.
I love that you're
I don't
saying
know
it's a
why.
curse, and everyone watching could be like,
Yeah. They're
serious?
like, okay, so how do I get those traps? Just
Right.
yeah. So yeah, no, like I said, I get people asking me like, how do you get those traps and those huge traps and the big back and everything? I'm like,
Bad training.
The big back is my dad. My dad had huge back, so I have good
Yeah.
genetics. I got my dad's
How
back.
tall was your dad? Or how big was your dad?
My dad was small. He was a Mexican guy. He was short. He's like 5'8".
Was he like stocky built?
But he wasn't like big, but he was like like he was, he had muscle. He always had jobs that were very like labor oriented. So he had landscaping, construction, all
always
that stuff.
yeah.
And he never went to the gym consistently or even I don't know, once in a while. Because I remember I invited him a couple of times. He went with me when I started competing, but he mostly did those jobs in his shoulders and his arms and his back.
Yes.
He was built. And then he also played soccer when he was little. So his legs were big.
Right.
So I told my mom, I said, I got your legs, Mom. They're like chicken legs. And she doesn't like that, of course. Because I said, if I would have gotten my dad's legs,
Right.
it would have been so much easier for me to
No, my grandfather was the same way. He was a mechanic for 45 years. He took a break when he joined the Navy in World War II. And I even say to this day, like him, I remember he just had those sausage hands, just thick but he had the biggest grip.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you I look forward to shake my grandma's hand every single time when he was alive, because it was like, you just that's a man right there. Like, oh my God.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because that reminds me of my dad. And I think that's where we get that from. My dad was very, he was into soccer. I remember back in the day, I don't know if you remember it, one of those things that they advertised on TV, where you can do abs. It was like a little, not even a machine, like one of those things that you put your feet on.
Yeah, you kind of I think they still sell that too. Yeah,
they still sell it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
He had one of those back in the day, and I was little, and he would do it, and we were like, "Oh, you're exercising." We would see him exercise. And my sister reminded me of this because I forgot. She's got a much better memory than I do. Yeah. But he made weights out of cement outside the house. And he would use those, and he would lift and use that, in the back.
It's just
yeah.
off.
And then when you were talking about the grip, he actually had one of those little machines that you used to just grip, and he would use it. And I would try to do it because he's like, try it, and because he would just do it so easily, you know. And I'm like little, and I'm like, oh, that hurts. That doesn't, it's too it's really hard. It was I don't know what they're called. It was a little.
It's just like a sprint,
with
coil
the sprint,
thing.
and then you just had to close it.
It's a good thing. Yeah. I used to have one sitting next to the TV, and I had it for years. I have no idea where it is right now.
He did that all the time. So looking back, I mean, that's I think where we get that from.
I guarantee
my dad was like that.
I think competitive edge is genetic. If you got parents that are they're driven and whatnot, you're going to have that some shape or form. So parents, get. Get on it. Start inspiring your kids.
Definitely. No, and my sister just sent me a meme today that says something about your whatever your kids do or whatever you do, just make remember your kids are watching.
Right.
And it's so true, because they, like we talked about at the beginning of the conversation, they will eventually do whatever it is that you do.
Oh yes.
Because you're an example to them.
No, exactly. And I don't have any kids or anything like that, but I have nieces and nephews. I have two nieces and nephews that are right down the road. And, when they were younger, I'd always throw in the pool, like Uncle Sean, he throws in, and I'd launch them. I mean, oh my God. And they loved it. They like 10 feet in the air and splash again. And I'm going, okay. Them. And, now they're older. They're 8 and 9. And they still come to me, hey, can you pick me up? And I'm like, sure. and I always made a promise. I even told my cousin, I said, no. To the day I die, I will make sure I can always pick them up. I don't care. I don't care how, and of course, Ella, my little niece, is like one arm, and even Colty, it's like
when they're 20 years old.
I told him, I said, you won't be strong, Uncle Sean. This is not gonna happen. But the fun thing is, for Colton, I go, you do pull-up? He's like, yeah. So I just post my arm against the wall. I'm like, go, and he's trying to do it.
Oh my gosh,
so funny. It's just it's just my little thing. It's I don't know. It's just, you can always inspire somebody. That's like we said, we wanted to have you on here to tell your story.
No, and I get the same thing. When people on Instagram, or they DM me, or they say, you're an inspiration. But the same goes with, for me, with other women. They inspire me. We all have our favorites. Follow them, and we were talking, whether they're competitors, non-competitors, older women. I've seen older women that are, in their 70s and 80s that I've been following, and I'm just like amazed. I mean, like how good they look, and they're working out, and they're, lifting weights, and it's like, oh my gosh,
But we just had Andrea Wellington. She 52 years old, has got her pro card,
Oh,
and
really?
it's like that's fantastic. Oh yeah, you get a chance to look her up,
Oh, okay.
and that whole family, and even Doug, her husband, which is funny because it's like there was a joke between her and like kind of all of us were like, she was a all-star when it came to like sports and all this stuff. So she had all these accolades. Even her son, I think he had the record. It was either I think it was discus. The most positive was discus. I know it was a track and field events here, discus or stone. Well, he had the record for that. And Doug was the only one in the family like, oh, I mean, he did the Air Force. We're like, oh, no, he did anything. But then he actually did his first competition. He set records for, I think he was, I don't know, he was 62 or something like that. But he, in his weight class, he set national records. So it's like, oh, now I let us sit at the table for Thanksgiving. It was just kind of like a funny joke we had. But yeah, she just got her pro card. And, like you said, looking at that, it's fantastic. Just strength sports in general. Stay with it. Get in the gym that does it. It's going to change your life for the better. I promise anybody out there watching.
Any sport, for that matter. But it's obviously I'm going to say weight training because the more I've been reading about it, and there's research done that weight training, it's very important. As we age, we lose muscle, we lose that, and it's very easy for men and women to get older and fall down and break something and have an injury,
right.
and then you don't recover.
Right. Well, the biggest thing, the thing you start losing, and you lose it as soon as pretty much I think it's like, maybe it's even younger than that, but I think it's 31. You start losing calcium. So that's why you look at some of these old people that have like calcium, and we all are. I guarantee we all are.
Yeah.
But weight training is more important when you're in your 60s to later on, because just grabbing weights, just walking.
Yes.
That's the only way you're going to either retain it, and then obviously you got to try to hopefully put it back in and supplement things to get it back into your body. But that's where you see like somebody that breaks their hip or does that. It's like, how they do that? Because they don't do any weight training. And we're not talking about sitting there taking 2 frame carriers or taking a farmer's walker or anything like that. It's just you throwing on a vest or just something. Yeah, is all you need.
Well, you need it for every day too, like picking up your grandchildren. When
that's
you get
exactly
older,
right.
That's the weight.
That's exactly right.
And then getting some groceries out of the car or getting the water. If you're filling up the water thing for it's you need that, and that's the cool thing about it. Like when I'm like putting something in the car, like groceries or carrying a bunch of stuff, like I don't need the help,
Right.
I don't need the help, and it's nice. Like I don't know what it is, to need help because I have the strength. It's really nice to that, especially as a single mom. I don't want to, having to ask like the neighbor, hey, can you help me like put this, inside the house? It's always good. It's better to do that, not only health wise, but also to be self-sufficient, to not have to like depend on others to do that. And I heard in another podcast that somebody was saying that it was an older lady that was having a hard time putting they were traveling a lot, but they couldn't like their carry-on. They couldn't lift it and put it up there, and they always had to have somebody do it. And when they started weight training, that changed. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you need it for everything.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The reason why I work out and why I have all these years is just when I get that older woman to say, hey, can you open this pickle jar for me? Absolutely. It's the only reason I do it.
Although I was gonna say, I mean, sometimes when people ask me to open up a jar, it's not.
I'm telling you.
It's technique, though.
It really is. It really is.
It really isn't strength a lot of times.
No, it's not.
It's technique.
That's what we do.
Because I'm like, oh, I'm struggling, and I get upset, and I'm like,
there was some guy, Jerry Bob's, the other day, and he was trying to open a salt shaker, and I was like, all right, because then he got up and left, and I'm like, what's up with that salt shaker? And I was just like, I guess he loosened up for me. No,
exactly.
Just being funny about that. But yeah, it's all about that. But let's see, we've been talking for almost 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, and obviously, I definitely want you to come back on, because now you're getting to powerlifting. That's one of the things I love doing.
I'll have to tell you all about it.
Oh, it's not telling us. I want you to go back in the studio.
Okay.
So we see the transition, obviously,
true.
with your Instagram and your post all stuff, because I want to hear you from the source be like, okay, what was that like?
The difference between.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know you know, but you'll definitely.
No, I'm looking forward, because anybody that wants to go in the power, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see this, because it's instead of doing your high reps and all that stuff,
reps,
and it's like, we're just doing 3. It's like, Oh yeah, we're doing 3. It's
no.
like.
But I believe me, it's a lot of weight.
It's exactly.
I've seen it. No, and I felt it before.
And you're gonna do your 3 reps and then sit there for 5 minutes going, okay, because it's an all or nothing.
Yeah, you gotta recover. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what are some things that you like to go ahead and post out there? What's some things you want to go ahead and basically just plug for you?
Well, I'm gonna start my online coaching. So
Okay.
Online training. So that's gonna come. I'm working on that. I'm working on getting another Instagram page because I want to make it public.
Right.
This one is private, so it's more of my family and everything. But I'm gonna start that, and I'm gonna start one-on-ones, but one-on-one training, talking about getting more people to help them out, and also getting more women to do that kind of stuff. So if anybody's interested, that's the kind of stuff I'm working on. So that's next for me.
So you're not only going to do your powerlifting, you're going to go ahead and open your own fitness page to where you want to go ahead and train. Is it just women or is it anybody?
Anybody. But I'm in general, like I'm just, saying, because a lot of women come up to me and ask me for, advice. So I'll be able to give that and help more women out that way.
And
But
plug your trainer too.
My training?
Your trainer.
My trainer. Oh, Mike Early. He's also on Instagram. His Instagram is Relentless. I remember Relentless Gym or something relentless.
Okay.
So you can find him on Instagram. But he's great. And if anybody's interested in powerlifting or getting a coach, he's also really good.
And is there a specific gym that you go to that you're here?
Well, we go to different gyms. I train specifically out of LA Fitness.
Okay.
And we also go to Choose Fitness.
Choose?
Yeah, for now. Mm-hmm.
I gotcha. And like when you get serious, you ever go to a specialty training or like a special gym
when
that has, like,
when I develop my fitness page and everything, I'll start. I'll get a specific gym.
I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, is there anything else you want to go ahead and tell the people that are watching, or just leave us with?
No, just wanted to say thank you and thank you for listening. If you got this far, I know it's long. I had a lot of things to share, and I'm just happy that you invited me.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm happy to be here and to share my story, and hopefully, somebody gets motivated and inspired, and they get into weight training or any type of training or any exercise for the sake of that would be like my goal, just to be able to help somebody out there.
Thank you so much. And I tell you what, like I said, it's been great talking to you. Like I said, I know we could have gone on longer than this, and I know you got to go do some stuff. Unfortunately, I have to go do some few things as well. But let me tell you, so we've been here with Blanca Barcelo and I hope I said that right.
You said it right.
Yeah.
You said it right this time.
And it's just the whole point we do the deload is basically to get people on here to inspire people and just tell their stories, and the fact that now you're going to powerlifting, I cannot wait to see, because it's going to change your body. It's going to change you for you are, and even like mentally tough. I'm waiting to see this.
I can't wait to get huge legs. I gotta say that.
It's all about goals. That's all you want, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and we're going to, her story's going to be out there. So feel free to check us out, on YouTube. It's there. Definitely give her a follow. And what's your shout out for your Instagram again?
Instagram is _figure _ IFBB Pro, and you can also follow me on Facebook under Blanca Barcelo.
Fantastic. So, hey, that concludes us for the episode of the Deload. Thanks again for Blanca being on there. We are definitely going to have her back. And like I said, anybody that wants to basically tell their story, you may have somebody out there that you want to go ahead and showcase, get a hold of us over at valorandvenom@gmail.com. Get a hold of me on Instagram, The American Outlaw, or get a hold of Paul Leonard, The American Treasure. We want to do all your streams. We want to come to your gyms and showcase all your athletes, and we absolutely want to have inspiring stories be told, just like Blanca's was today. So thank you so much for coming here today.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and play us out with that little inspiring little video that you guys have, or you had made, which is fantastic, by the way.
Go ahead, it's your time, baby. It's your time, baby. Get wild, baby. That's the difference when you're my baby. That's how it is when you. Nobody make me stop the world. So tell me, what do we do when these people don't know what you've been through? You survive the night, through the darkest of times. It's only right that you do what you like. Go ahead, it's your time, baby. It's waste your time, baby. Get wild, baby. That's the difference when you're my baby. That's how it is when you